Hey guys, welcome back to dressyourfacelive.com. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I know a lot of you weren't able to catch this live, so for those of you who didn't make it, please do stick around for the Q&A at the end anyways, because I did ask you guys to go ahead and ask your questions so I can still answer them whether or not you're watching them live. So it's very beneficial if you do stick around till the end of class so you can listen to your question being asked and answered as well. Little shout out love there. So here is my lovely model, Miss Sonia Scher, and she is going to be our girl to recreate that look that you guys loved when I posted on Instagram. And so far, you guys are absolutely loving the video we made together. I had so much fun filming that with you. I thought it was really, really cool. So at this point, I'm not gonna waste your time. I really wanna get right into class because there's a lot of information. For those of you who are new on dressyourfacelive.com, please whip out a notepad and a pen and start writing down all the notes as I'm giving you all this information. And then for those of you who are seasoned artists or artists who prefer to just learn hands-on, if you have a model or a friend with you or yourself and a mirror, you can go ahead and follow along step by step. But it is going to be a lot of information. I'm going to be going over everything from A to Z in this class, so it's going to be pretty amazing. So at this point, we're going to zoom in to the model's face, and we are going to start with the very, very beginning steps, and I will explain everything to you. So we'll go ahead and zoom in at this point, and I'll whip out my first item. All right, so I like to prime the face using any primer really, but depending on her skin type and what she's looking for, there's different primers meant for different people. Now, the one that's pretty universal that I've used for years and years, and sometimes I whip out this old gem once in a while, it's the MAC Prep and Prime, this little baby right here. So I'm going to pump out a couple pumps of the MAC Prep and Prime onto the back of my clean hand. Make sure your hands have been sanitized prior to putting anything on them. And we're just gonna go ahead and run this product throughout her whole face. Notice that I am using my fingers. I really like to feel that the skin is drinking the product really nicely. Again, this is the original MAC Prep and Prime. There's no shimmer in it, there's no SPF in it. It's just the basic of all basic primers, and it really does get the job done. I've never had any problems or complaints with this primer. So if you guys are kind of confused which one you should go with, it's always nice to have something very simple in your kit as well. So I'm just working this into her skin, giving it a nice smooth touch, making sure I'm going around her nose, any problem areas. And I just want everything to look really nice and smooth. All right, so now that that is done, we can actually go ahead and start with the foundation. So depending on how much coverage you want, there's different foundations out there. I love MAC foundation. MAC Studio Fix is by far one of my all-time favorites. It just works so well on anybody that's looking for a very flawless coverage. In addition to this, I've also used the LC Cosmetics foundation, the Micro Silk foundation, and that also works absolutely beautifully. It's buildable, so it's a medium to full, and it looks very smooth on the skin. So those two are my biggest recommendations, but of course MAC is meant for more of that, you know, glam look. So I am going to be actually mixing MAC and Studio Fix fluid. Now I know I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit more about foundation matching. So what helps me match foundation is I just need to know what color I am in these different brands. So if I'm carrying MAC, I need to be aware of what color I am. And then I look at my client, and if she's a couple shades lighter than me, then I know, like let's say if I'm an NC40 and she's a couple shades lighter, she'll probably be like an NC30 or NC25 or something like that. If I am, or if she's a little bit darker than me, then I'll know, okay, maybe she's an NC42 or NC44 or something along those lines. And that kind of gives you a nice general gauge of how light or how dark you need to go on your client. Now the coolest news is you guys don't have to worry so hard about matching the skin tone exactly. Why? Because we have so much highlighting to do, so much contouring to do that we end up using several different shades, and we can actually custom create her perfect shade even as you're putting it on and you're seeing, oh gosh, this foundation's looking a little bit dark. Throw on some extra highlight and it will brighten up the whole face. Throw on some extra bronzer and it will darken up the face if anything looks too ghostly. So don't worry too much and don't freak yourselves out or psych yourselves out about perfectly matching. If it doesn't match exactly, there's always ways to change it by adding dark and light to it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna use this MAC Studio Fix foundation. This particular color is NC37. I got this in the Middle East. I'm not sure if they make this color here in the US, but if I was using like regular US colors on her, I'd probably use NC25 on her. But I do want to mix it with my really light vanilla color from Elsie Cosmetics. This is vanilla, and I just want to create like a medium to full coverage foundation. So there's that, and now it's significantly lighter and it should match her skin really nicely. And the foundation brush that I used in the video on her is the Morphe Duo Fiber Foundation Brush. It's this one here. And I'm just mixing the colors using the tip of the brush, the Morphe Duo Fiber Foundation Brush, and I'm just pushing it right into her skin. Notice how when I'm stamping the product, it's actually going on really, really smooth and really full coverage. If you buff the product on, like in circles or wiping, you're essentially wiping off a lot of that holy goodness on the skin, and you can cause redness because of all the movement, and you're not creating a very full application because half of it's being wiped off. So stamping and pushing product in is really going to guarantee the perfectly flawless finish. So I'm just packing. And you don't really necessarily have to do the eyelid or anything like that because we still have to use eyeshadow base anyways. And then whatever's left on my brush, I'm just gonna throw it down the neck and make sure everything else is looking nice and even. And I don't want there to be a huge difference between the skin on the face and the skin on the neck. I really want it to look seamless and perfect so nobody can be like, oh my gosh, your face looks like a completely different color. You definitely want it to look the same. So once you're done packing on the foundation, just to make everything even more flawless, just use a dry beauty blender to absorb excess product from the skin. So I'm using this to absorb any streaks or uneven areas of the face to make it extra perfect, especially around the hairline. I don't want too much going on there. So now everything has been absorbed really nicely and it's starting to really set into the skin beautifully. At this point, we're ready for concealer. Now, here's the thing about concealer and covering dark circles and making sure everything just looks absolutely perfect. You have to go with a color that's a little bit more apricot or a little bit more orangey if you're covering dark circles. Because if you go too yellow or if you go too ivory, everything's gonna end up looking gray or green. So you have to choose something that has enough peach tones, apricot tones, orange tones to offset those ashy tones to make everything look brighter, and then you can go in with your highlight if you really need to lighten it at all. But I found a way to custom mix under eye concealers so that you have kind of almost like a 2-in-1 type of deal without having to layer so much product. So what I'm gonna use is MAC Pro Longwear concealer, which is my, oh my gosh, my all-time favorite concealer. I'm gonna use NC42. NC42 is a pretty orange tone. As you can see, it has a lot of this warmth in it. And I'm gonna put half a pump of NC20, just to lighten it up and to match her skin a little bit better. Now, using the same brush that I used last time on her in the video, this is the M428 brush. Let me just give it a quick clean so that you guys can see what it looks like. It is the Morphe M428 brush. I will be listing all the brushes, the names or the numbers if I have the numbers, so you guys can make your list. And then if you guys do decide to buy anything from Morphe, you can use my discount code to save even more, even though everything on the website's great priced already. My code is DYF. Very easy, DYF. Save whatever on all your purchases on Morphe, morphebrushes.com. So this is the M428 brush, and I'm just gonna stamp my little custom mixture right around her under eyes. And I'm putting a nice amount on because I have my beauty blender to absorb any excess product. So I'm not too scared about using too much right now, as long as it's not like oozing. You definitely don't want it to look like paint. So right now I'm just kind of stamping it and pushing it into the skin a bit. And now I can stamp the remaining onto any areas that just need a little extra coverage. So any little breakouts around the chin, anything around the cheek area, anything you notice that needs just a little extra coverage, go ahead and pack it in those areas so that everything just looks perfect. Okay, so once that's done, we go back to that same dry beauty blender and absorb excess product while pushing in the product that you've applied to make it even more flawless. It does speed up the blending process and the setting process. And just be careful around the corners of the eyes. Just use the tip of it. And then yeah, while she closes her eyes, we can even drag the remaining amount right over the eyelid. If there's any little bits, like she had some mascara on earlier, which she removed, but I'm noticing little bits coming out. And the cool thing about having that beauty blender is you could literally wipe off any little bits of remaining product that's on your client. Okay, so now that everyth's looking really even and flawless and nice, we're ready to start setting with the appropriate powders. So I have the Kat Von D Shade and Light palette, which is going to be what I'll use to set her under eye concealer and all her highlight areas. This is a demonstration of how to create a very soft highlight and contoured look for brides that don't want to look too strong and streaky. All right, so I'm gonna go in with one of my favorite new brushes. This is the setting powder brush from Dose of Colors. I'll show you now. This is the setting powder brush from Dose of Colors, and I have applied the really light shade. I'll go ahead and show you. I'm applying this peach and the yellow, and I'm setting all under her eyes and down towards her cheeks. And again, as you can see, I'm using a good amount of product and I'm pushing it in. And that's one of the reasons why I really like this brush, because it is tapered and it is flat on the sides here. So you can actually push in the product really nicely, and it almost acts like a sponge, like I'm using a sponge to push it in, but it blends like a brush. Remember, before you set the eyes, you have to make sure that there's no creases. So I just wiped off the crease, and now I can set and really make everything perfect. And really layering it. I want everything to look super flawless, so I'm gonna use a lot of this. The other thing about Indian bridal makeup specifically, and a lot of the glam brides out there, In order to keep the makeup looking very flawless and very long lasting throughout the night, especially if they're gonna cry or dance or sweat, you have to use enough powder product to offset the effects of cream. So cream product melts and absorbs. It kind of does everything you really don't want it to do, but it is what will hold the powder on better. And then the powder is gonna set the cream really nicely and make everything more flawless and longer lasting because it's gonna control the wetness and the oil production. So it's very important to press the powder in any problem zone. So like the T-zone, under eyes, any areas that you just really need to correct and make flawless. Those are the areas that you really wanna press this product. And it will last literally through every dance, through every tear, through every photo shoot on the day of her wedding, she will be covered. And because we didn't put pounds and pounds of makeup on and we allowed our dry beauty blender to basically absorb any extra products, she's not gonna look cakey, she's not gonna feel heavy on her face. Everything's still breathable because at this point we're only adding literally weightless powder. So she will be okay. Now I'm just adding a little bit of extra lightness around the eyes. Okay, and now I'm gonna do a little bit of bronzing around the edges of the face. So I'm going in with my Morphe 438 brush. This is the Morphe 438 brush. I'm gonna tap it off. I'm just using this middle color here. And I'm just adding a little bit of this bronzing effect on the outer parts of the cheek and then dusting it down. And I'm gonna do the temple as well, just like that. Super easy, super blended, no lines, no streaks, no problems. Everything just looks very soft and very bridal. So I'm just creating like this nice bronze look on the outer parts. And then now with her regular powder, this is Studio Fix powder, we're gonna go in back to that original brush that we were using from Dose of Colors, the setting powder brush. I'm gonna go in and set all the remaining areas that I haven't set yet. So this whole jaw area here, I'm gonna set that. That way nothing moves around and everything feels dry to the touch. Nothing's slimy, nothing's wet. Everything is just flawless. And this color is NC40, by the way. I didn't want to go too white because I did do a lot of highlight powder setting. So we don't need to go super light with this. So NC40 is like a good medium tone for her. All right. So now that the whole face is set, let's work on nose contouring. So the first thing that I like to do for nose contouring is I go in with a flat eyeshadow brush. This is the 239 from MAC. It's a flat eyeshadow brush. And I'm going to dip into the banana color from the Kat Von D. And I'm just gonna slide up and down on the nose. I'm creating a line right along the center. And we're blending it up into the center of the forehead as well. And I just wanna make sure this line is nice and bold. And I'm gonna go across to the tip right there. And the next thing that I want to do is I want to lighten up the sides of the nose. So the widest part of the nose, which is right around here, that's what you want to brighten. But you're not going to go all the way up to touch that center stripe. You're going to almost touch the center stripe. So I'm going to go right up until here, just to remove any natural contour that she has, because I'm going to create a whole new contour for her. Okay. Now we're ready to create that new contour. And I'm going to be using what I like to call the toothbrush brush. This is the oval number 3 brush from MAC Cosmetics, oval number 3. And I'm dipping into this middle color here. And I'm going to wipe a little bit off on my hand because I don't want to go too dark. And I'm just going to slide up and down on the edge of her original stripe that we made. And I'm gonna go across the bottom, and that lifts up the nose as well. And lastly, go along the tip on the edge, and that kind of creates a sharper tip of the nose. And then you can go back to your setting powder brush and blend everything one last time with whatever's left on the setting powder brush so that everything kind of looks a little bit more natural again. But you've literally now created a whole new shape of the nose, and it looks very defined and very cute. And you know, depending on the nose shape, you can fix a crooked nose by going straight up and down, creating your line and then shading in from there, and ignoring the real direction that the nose is going. You can fix a bulbous nose, which is thinner from here and very big and round on the tip, by going in and literally cutting through the tip of the nose and creating just a little dot of shine at the tip. There's so many different things you can do with nose contouring. I actually have a video on nose contouring on the All Access Pass, but what we're gonna be doing every month is bringing back some of your most requested tutorials from the past. So we can add that as bonuses for you guys. So in case you guys, if any of you have missed a specific tutorial that you're really dying to see, we're taking requests. So on my latest post on Instagram, you can let us know which classes are you dying to see that you haven't seen, or even if you have seen it but you want to recap it. If there's a class like the nose contour class or the All About Lashes class or whatever class it is, we are tallying up your votes every day. And then every month we're picking the top 4 and we're bringing it to you with a specific theme. So like this month's theme for July is all the pro classes. So we have how I became a makeup artist, what's in my kit, how to do photography for makeup and how to edit pictures, as well as marketing and branding. So all those 4 classes are up right now on the website. So definitely if you haven't seen them, you gotta see them. They're really good classes. Even if you're not a makeup artist, the marketing and branding class is very valuable to anyone in business. Okay, back to this makeover. We are now done with balancing the lights and the darks of the face. At this point, we're ready to add some color. We want blush and we want some shimmer. We need that beautiful highlight going on, and I cannot wait for you guys to see what we're gonna use. This is incredible, you guys. This is the brand new Anastasia Glow Kit in Sweets. So this is what it looks like, and I'm gonna be mixing these 2 colors here, this really light one called Marshmallow and Butterscotch. So I'm gonna use more Butterscotch and a little bit of Marshmallow on top for a really bright, beautiful highlight. And I'm gonna show you exactly how I do it without going overboard. So this is the highlighting brush from Anastasia Beverly Hills, which is what I used in the video. And I'm mixing Butterscotch and Marshmallow. And she's gonna look to the side a little bit, yeah. And I'm literally just rubbing, not moving very crazy. I'm just softly applying and rubbing along the highest point of her cheekbone, which is right in here. And then I'm gonna use my clean finger to smooth around the edges so it doesn't look so neon and crazy. I just wanted to give her a beautiful bridal glow. Isn't that beautiful? When we did this in the video, we both nearly died. I was just in shock. It was our first time actually using this palette, and I had no idea that it looked this beautiful on a cheek because I had only tested it on my hand before. Ooh, I like it. And then whatever's left on the brush, you can just add to the other key points of the face. If your client has very oily skin, you definitely don't want to put too much, or you can just dab it in certain peak areas. I'm going to use my finger to dab it on the nose, just in little bits. So right on the center of the bridge and right on the tip of the nose. And now it's like a totally new look. It's insane how different the face can look just with certain highlighting and contouring techniques. And then to soften, go back to your same setting powder brush, and whatever's left on the brush will soften any remaining product that you think is just too strong. And now she literally looks like she's glowing from within. It's insane how stunning this looks. You could even use it on the décolleté and create like a nice sexy shine on the collarbone, on the bones of the neck right here. And it makes just everything pop and look beautiful. So once we're done with that, now we're ready to add blush. I'm going in with my NYX number 8 brush, NYX number 8. And I'm gonna use Cheekathon, this palette right here. And I'm mixing Dandelion and Coralista. And I'm just adding a nice wash of a rosy hue on her apples. And this is a trick that I do when a bride is wearing basically all white and they're requesting silvers on the eye, so no major color. How are we supposed to make them look like they're not washed out? And the answer is to add a little pop of color on the cheeks and on the lips. And I love pinks with whites, so I highly recommend doing a soft baby pink on the cheeks and lips. Or another option, if it's an evening wedding or something in the fall time, you can use a dark vintage kind of a vampy color, like Vamp from Anastasia, or any of the deeper berries, any of the deeper Merlot shades, like a deep wine. And that also looks very beautiful with white and gold, but it definitely gives a more evening, more fall, winter type of look rather than a summery spring look. So because we're in summer, spring right now, I'm choosing the pink route, but you can absolutely go with the deeper wine route as well. Okay, so blush is done. Now let's move on to the eyes and the eyebrows. So I like to go ahead and add some eyeshadow base to her eyelid. So I'm gonna get the base that I'm gonna use, which is base number 1 Pro Pencil from Anastasia Beverly Hills right here. And I'm just gonna draw all the way along her eyelid, all the way up to her brow bone. And then you just need a jumbo sharpener to clean in between clients, basically. All right. And then we're gonna use that same concealer brush from before to blend the base. Awesome. Now that that's done, we can get started on the eyeshadow. The palettes that I'm going to be using is Modern Renaissance palette from Anastasia Beverly Hills, and I'm going to be using the Tamana palette, also Anastasia Beverly Hills, which I'm so sorry, you guys. I know I keep getting this question all the time. This palette is gone. It's not coming back. It was a one-time thing like 2.5 years ago during the holidays. So it's definitely not coming back. But if there's any colors that you really like from the palette, Anastasia does have singles in most of the shades, not all the shades, but most of the shades do come in a single, or you can find something very similar on the Anastasia Beverly Hills website and create your own palette. So cool stuff. All right, so now I'm going in with the 239 eyeshadow brush from MAC. And I'm going to use this color Tempera. And we're going to just highlight the brow bone. Right up in here. Okay. Once that's done, now we can actually get her brows done. So I'm going to use precisely my brow pencil in number 4 from Benefit Cosmetics. And I'm going to go in and start with the arch. And I'm working my way across. Now, when I'm designing brows, I like to start with the arch because that really does determine my highest point. And then from there, I know to go lower on the tail and lower on the beginning half. So when you discover your highest point and make that mark, everything else just comes a little easier. And keep in mind, as you're going more and more towards the beginning, you have to lighten up your pressure so that it doesn't look too dark in the beginning. We're gonna create a little bit of an ombre brow effect. So we're going a little lighter here. Okay, now the other side, starting with the arch, establishing my highest point, and then working down to the tail, get that over with. And then start working your way in. And make sure you blend the beginnings too, because you don't want anything looking too harsh. Okay. And now, lastly, we're going to add some brow gel. And because she has light hair, I'm going to use caramel brow gel from Anastasia Beverly Hills. This is going to lighten up her brow a little bit and almost add like a highlighted effect so it doesn't look so dark. Beautiful. And now if there's anything you need to clean up, you can go back in with the underbrow highlight color and revamp any of the parts that you feel got lost. Very, very pretty. Okay. I think I might even sharpen up a little bit in here just to get the brows to match a little bit more. Now, no two brows are ever exactly the same, so the goal is to make them look as balanced as possible, but don't worry about them looking exactly the same. You're gonna end up wasting your whole appointment on something that's not really gonna make a huge difference at the end. So it's best to do what you can to balance them off the best that you can. And then at the end of your appointment, once the eyes are done, once everything is done, to take a step back, look at the brows and see, is there anything that you can adjust at that point, or does everything look really balanced and nice? And if there is something that you can adjust, then go ahead and adjust it at the end, once you're done with the appointment. That way you're not wasting too much time on one thing. So now at this point, we can start working on the actual eyeshadows. So for those of you who are following along, I'll give you guys a minute to whip out any eyeshadow palettes you have that resemble these right here. So what we need is basically a light kind of a mauve tone for the crease and a taupe tone. And we're gonna need a dark brown and a black. We might be using a silvery tone, but that's pretty much all we're gonna need. And make sure you guys have a really, really light, shimmery, silvery white tone. So I'm giving you guys a minute to grab those items, and then you guys can follow along. Okay, you guys, so the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna mix warm taupe and Buon Fresco. It's like a soft lilac mauve, and then this warm taupe color. And the brush that I'm using is the Morphe 441 brush. This is the Morphe 441. And I'm just gonna make sure her eyes aren't creasing or anything. And we're gonna go ahead and just create a nice soft shading in her natural crease. If you don't know where your client's crease is, just feel where the bone ends and her eye socket begins. And that's where you wanna create a little bit of a shadowing effect. Again, right in here, we're just gonna go in and create a really nice soft effect in the crease. All right, now that that's done, we can go darker in the outer corners of the eyes. Same color, I'm sorry, not same color, same brush, the 441 brush by Morphe, but I'm going in with chocolate, which is a super, super dark brown. So any really dark fudge brown color would work fine for this. And I'm just darkening up the outer corner of her eyes. You see how that just adds a little bit more definition right there? So we're just adding a little bit right in those corners. Perfect. And now I'm going in with my flat shader brush from MAC, the 239, back to Tempera, which is basically a matte, creamy white shade. Close your eyes. And I'm gonna use that with the press and slide motion. If you guys have been my students for a while, you know exactly what press and slide is. For those of you who are new, press and slide is a technique that I came up with, which is so much better than padding. You know when you're padding and some of the product just falls everywhere? With the press and slide, you're actually pressing the pigment into the skin and you're sliding it down so it grabs onto the skin and it lasts longer without fallout. So definitely try the press and slide if you haven't already. It will literally change your eyeshadow game forever. Pressing and sliding. So I'm basically filling in the empty part of the lid, and I'm just using my fingers to smooth out the very edges, and I'm doing the inner corners of the eyes as well. All right. So now we have this light color base there. Next, I'm going to go in with a smaller brush. This is Morphe 507, this tiny little brush here, Morphe 507. I'm going to dip into the black color called Noir. This is super black. Keep in mind, I'm only using the tip of my brush. I did not swirl my whole brush in the black eyeshadow. I'm only using the tip. And I'm gonna go in and darken up just this outer little V of the eye. See how that just really creates a dramatic look? This is definitely optional. This is if your client wants that dramatic effect, which is usually pretty common with Indian and Afghan weddings, any Middle Eastern weddings as well. Same on the other side. Just use the tip of the bristles, create your V, wing it out a little bit so it has like a little cat eye effect, and just blend the edges a little. Really cool. Looks really, really cool. All right. So now that that's done, we're gonna start with a little bit of a transition color, which will be a, well, you have a choice between a lot of different transition shades, but if you just wanna go with a darker brown, you can use Cypress Umber, or if you wanna go more warm, you can go with Red Ochre. I'm gonna go with the dark brown. Chocolate or Cypress Ochre is, Cypress Umber is fine for this. And I'm just gonna use this as a little bit of a transition right in here. Okay, so now the edges are a little bit softer, everything looks a little bit more blended. Lastly, I wanna show you this really cool thing. I'm not sure if Lorac still even makes this. It's called the Lorac 3D Liquid Luster. This is what I use to create that crazy, crazy silvery shine on the eyelid and the inner corner of the eye in the video. And a lot of you were asking, what was that? Was that a pigment? You can absolutely use a pigment, but this stuff works amazing. And you might be able, if they don't make it anymore, I don't know if it was seasonal, but if they don't make it anymore, you can absolutely find this on Amazon or eBay. It's just called Lorac 3D Liquid Luster. And this color is a silvery tone, and it comes in a dropper. And I'm just gonna drop a couple drops onto the back of my hand. I covered it. And then here's the drop right here. It's very, very white and pearly. So I'm just going back in with my flat eyeshadow brush. And I am going to literally just tap it all across that whole light area of her eyelid. And it's incredible the amount of shine that this has. And it dries to almost like a powdery finish. So it's not gonna remain wet on her eye. It actually dries and it lasts a pretty good amount of time. So this is not a paint pot, this is not a pigment, this is an actual liquid luster. So if Lorac does not make this anymore, maybe you guys should comment on their page and be like, Lorac, bring it back. Or maybe they might have something that they replaced it with that might even work better. So definitely check it out. But oh my God, I love this. And now she's gonna open her eyes and she's gonna look up to the ceiling, and I'm gonna add the same thing right in the corners of the eye. And then I wipe off my brush so that there's like nothing left on my brush so that I can blend the edge. So it's not like super thick and crazy. It can end up looking just a little softer. And look up again. So gorgeous. Oh my God, I love it. All right, if you guys want something a little bit more soft, or if you prefer a pigment instead, I recommend the vanilla pigment from MAC. This is the vanilla pigment from MAC, and I'll show you on the back of my hand what this looks like in comparison to the liquid luster drops. Okay, so here's the liquid luster drop, and then here's the vanilla pigment. So it's actually really similar, it's just not as metallic. But the cool part is, if you don't want it to look so metallic on the eye, you can actually use this vanilla pigment right over the 3D luster to soften it up and just make it look more like eyeshadow rather than glitter. And that's what I would prefer to do in case your client doesn't want to have so much speckled glimmer and they want more of a smoother, more metallic finish. And I'm using my fingers to soften the edges so that it looks more like a true ombre eye rather than like a half and half type of eye. And then of course, go ahead and look up to the ceiling again. We're just gonna blend out the inner corners, and I can go back to this lovely setting powder brush to blend out anything that has fallen underneath. And I'm loving how this looks. Okay, so now that that's done, we are ready to do the under eye work, which is going to be the waterline eyeliner and all the smokiness that comes with it. So I'm going to use, where is it? This is my Tarteist clay paint liner. Tarteist clay paint liner. And I'm going to bring some of this gel liner out into my hand. So just a small amount is all you need. And then we're going to use a liner brush to go ahead and fill in her whole waterline. This is the Tarte liner brush. So I'm just saturating the bristles here, and now she's gonna look up to the ceiling, and I'm gonna fill in the whole waterline with this product. And I create a little point in the beginnings of her eye. And look up again. And now I'm bleeding over the edge of the outer 2/3 of her eye so that I can smoke it out. So don't worry if it looks crazy. It will end up looking so sultry and beautiful once we're done. So go really thick on the outer 2/3 of the eye and go a little thinner as you go in. And remember to make your little point. All right, so now that that's done, we're gonna start smoking out the bottom part of the eye. Okay, let's see which brush we're gonna use. There's so many different brushes you can use, but here's one that'll work nicely. It's the MAC 212 brush. It's a flat brush right here. I'm gonna dip into the Noir eyeshadow, which is the black one. I'm gonna use my finger to catch fallout, and I'm going to run this all the way across. Okay. Same on the other side. Run it all the way across. Now, same brush, I'm going into Cypress Umber, which is the dark brown shade. She's gonna look up all the way, and I'm going to slide this dark brown color all the way across below the black. And what that's gonna do is it's gonna smoke out the black so it doesn't look so harsh and so scary, and it looks more smoky and more sultry, and you can literally create the cat eye of your dreams. Other side, flatly applying this dark brown Cypress Umber. And I want to show you what I do with fallout in case you do experience any fallout, so check that out. Right there you can see a little fallout. If this happens, pick it up with a brush and then wipe it off on your hand. Pick it up again, wipe it off, pick it up again, wipe it off, and then you can go in with the rest of the powder that's on your brush to set underneath. That way nothing is stuck to her, everything looks amazing, there's no second guesses, it's just perfect. No smears, no nothing. And that's it for the under eye. If you do want to soften anything up, if you feel like, oh my gosh, this is really dark, I don't know what to do, you can absolutely use any small brush, like this end from the Anastasia palette. It comes with this brush. You can go in with like a silvery tone or a dark gray and end up lightening up the edges of the eyeshadow on the bottom if you prefer a softer look. So that's totally up to you what you want to do with that. And at this point, before I do the eyeliner on the top and the mascara and everything, I'm going to re-brighten her under eyes. So I'm going to go back in with that Kat Von D palette here. And I'm going to go back in with this peach and this yellow and re-brighten under her eyes. Just by pushing it in. All right, now we're ready for the top eyeliner. So back to that same eyeliner brush, back to the same eyeliner, which is still on the back of my hand. She's gonna close her eyes, and I'm gonna get right in here and draw along her lash line. And I'm going to create a tail. Be very careful when you're creating your tail. The trick is to not press hard on your brush, because if you press hard, it's going to create a very fat tail. So if you want a thin little flick, you have to literally press hard on your brush in the beginnings, like as you're lining, and then start letting go, and then just using the tip of your brush to extend your wing so that the wing is thinner than the rest of the eyeliner. Let's do the same thing on the other side. Close your eyes. We're going to line the whole lash line first. And go ahead and turn towards me a little bit, close. And I'm going to work on a very thin, nice wing here. Awesome. All right. So now that the eyeliner is done and the eyes are pretty much done, we just have to do the lashes and the lips. So when it comes to lashes, I love to create a very custom, flirty look on my clients. So first things first, obviously we want to curl her own lashes, apply mascara. So she's going to look down to the floor, give her a nice curl. And I'm going to grab a waterproof mascara. This is the Lancome Hypnose Waterproof Drama. And I'm going to first apply it to the bottoms. Go ahead and look up. We're going to do the bottom lashes, and she's not supposed to look down right after. She's supposed to just look straight ahead after I'm done, so that we can wait for these to dry, and then she can look down once I start doing the top lashes. So I usually tell my clients, okay, just kind of look up or straight ahead while I'm doing this, and I'll let you know when you can look down. And then I just kind of fan a little bit so that the tips of her lashes don't touch her cheek, and then all of a sudden I have black everywhere. So we're gonna fan, and now that it's dry, she can look down to the floor. I'm lifting up her lashes, and I'm applying a nice healthy amount throughout her top lashes. And I'm just spiking them out. Awesome. Close. Alrighty. Now that that's done, we can apply the false lashes. And the thing that I love about these false lashes is that they're super, super cheap and affordable, and they're really gorgeous. This is from model21lashes.ca. Their packs of 10 pairs are roughly around $6 or $7. So definitely take advantage, buy a bunch. These are my backup lashes usually because they're so inexpensive. I have hundreds of boxes of these sitting in my backup closet, which is where all my backup stock is. And on, occasions where I'm using so many lashes back to back, and if my clients aren't really requesting the minks, I can use these synthetics, and I can actually be fine with curling them, adding mascara, and not feeling guilty because they're so inexpensive. And you can still reuse them several times. So I tell my clients, go ahead and reuse them a couple times before you throw them out because they're so nice. So this number is number 6. Just so you know, it's number 6. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold them out, and I'm actually going to curl them. With the lash curler. So I'm just curling them so that they stick straight up and look extra flirty. Check that out. The glue I'm using is the mini white glue from houseoflashes.com. I'm gonna apply a nice layer to the base of the lashes. I know a few of you had questions about what's the best way to apply lashes. So I'm gonna put the glue on. I've already curled my lashes. I've curled her lashes, I applied mascara already. I've curled the false lashes, and now I've put on the glue, and I'm gonna wait for the glue to get really sticky, almost dry, before I pop them on her. And look up to the ceiling. I'm just gonna clean up a little flaky. All right. So once the glue is pretty much almost dry, you're gonna match it up center to center. So I'm holding the center of the lash, I'm holding the center, and I'm going to match it to the center of her own eye. And now she can close her eyes, and I'm gonna close the outer corner and close in the inner corner, and use either a tweezer or the edge of my nail to make sure all of it has really stuck on nicely. Give it a little fanning. And then I'm gonna help her open her eyes in case they feel stuck. Go ahead and look up. Oh no, they're good. All right, cool, look at that. Look at the difference. Like, can you believe it? This is insane. Just one little thing does a huge difference, especially for a smoky look. You want long, wispy lashes for a smoky look so they actually show up really nicely. So we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. I'm gonna curl her false lash. Sorry that I've been coughing this whole class. I swear I'm not sick. It's acid reflux, and I cough literally all damn day. All right, so I curled the lash. Now I'm gonna put the glue on them. And we're gonna wait for the glue to get really sticky and dry almost. And to get it to dry quicker, just fan them in the air. In the meantime, I can just kind of play with her hair and fluff it up. I'm just fanning, making sure it can dry a little bit. If you don't know how long to wait, you can actually see the glue turning transparent. As soon as it starts to turn transparent, that means it's drying, and you gotta hurry up and pop them on. If it's all the way clear, it's a little too late, my dears. You may have to reapply more glue. But if it's like almost turning translucent, that's when it's ready to pop on. So I'll give it another few seconds. And now, again, my biggest tip, aside from curling them, center to center. Hold the center, match it to the center, and she's gonna close her eyes. I'm gonna touch down on the outer corner, and then you touch down on the inner corner. Use your nails or an edge of a brush or an edge of the back of a tweezer to push all of it down. Make sure it's all holding on really well. Give it a little fanning. And help them open their eye. Go ahead and look up. Beautiful. Oh my God. Wow. Gorgeous. All right, we're ready for lips, guys. So for lips, I love custom blending to make sure like everything's perfect for my girls. But of course, if there is a base color that you guys really love, I do recommend telling your brides ahead of time. If you know what color you're gonna use, let them know to text one of their bridesmaids or their friends to go buy that color, because it's nice to have a backup with them if you don't give samples. I don't give samples just because I don't want to be liable for product and any type of, like, if anything happens to the product or whatever. Like, I'm not a retailer, so I don't feel right about giving product to my clients unless it's sealed in a box and they would have to buy it or whatever. But again, I'm not a retailer, I don't sell product. So I recommend giving my bride the name of the color that I'm using if it's available in stores, and having them text a friend to go buy it, and then having that as a backup. And worst come to worst, if they don't end up using it, they can always return it, no big deal. So let's go ahead and put on some nice lippy on her. Of course, we're using MAC Soar lip liner. This is like my go-to for any rose tone. MAC Soar lip liner. So if any of you guys out there are one of my brides or one of my DYF artist brides, it's always nice to have a MAC Soar lip liner in your bridal bag for touch-up purposes. Yes. So the color that I'm going to be using is called Blush from Anastasia Beverly Hills. It's a liquid lipstick. And what I like to do is, even if this isn't going to ultimately be like the final color, because I love custom blending, I like to start off with a liquid lipstick. Whatever it is that I'm doing on the lips, I start off with a liquid lipstick normally so that it can make sure it stays all day and all night. So my first coat is Blush by Anastasia Beverly Hills. And I'm going to be using one of my favorite brushes, which is not even a lip brush, but I really love it as a lip brush, and that is the Morphe 168 brush, the Morphe 168. And I think it's an eyeshadow brush, but I think it works really well for lips. So I'm just gonna color in all along her lips with this beautiful shade. And for the corners, usually I just tell them, open up your mouth a little bit and then I can get in the corner. Alrighty. Okay. So now that the first coat is done, depending on how bright or how dark it is or whatever, we can decide what we want to do next. So if my bride says, you know what, that's looking a little too pink, can we mute that down a bit? Well, absolutely. I can use a more brown lip gloss to just mute it down, or I could use a mauve lipstick over it, like a creamy lipstick over it to mute it down. This is Kristen lip gloss, which is a very neutral color. And I'm going to use this over it to mute it down and to create my own version of a soft vintage pink. Another option for, like, if you're looking for just one color to tell your brides to get, Dusty Rose is a beautiful shade for brides. It's literally just Dusty Rose. It kind of looks like this, but without the shine. Ooh la la. Very pretty. All right, my girl, I think we're done. All right, so I just want to make sure I covered everything in the agenda. And if I didn't, I can recap whatever was missed. So, first of all, we talked about color matching and how I don't find that detrimental to the whole thing because we have so much highlight and contour to do that it ends up just balancing very beautifully with the rest of the face. So you're usually good with that, but a great way to color match is to make sure that you know your color, and then if your client's lighter than you or darker than you, then you know how far to go. And also the place to color match, if you're actually going to go through and do the striping of the color matching, the way that you would actually color match is to do it right in a main area of the face. So like right along the cheek or the jawline would be a great place to color match. Covering dark circles and correcting, I went ahead and showed you my go-to concealer mix, but if that doesn't work and if your dark circles are extremely present, then you may need to use an actual orange concealer first and then go in with that custom mix over it. Perfecting the soft bridal contour, basically that meant not using the cream contour, but really perfecting that bridal contour for a soft look using powders instead. Now, for my brides that want full-on glam, like wild glam, I do the cream contour and then I set it with the powders. But for a soft bridal contour, this is exactly how I do it. I don't necessarily use the creams. I focus more on bronzing and brightening and using powders to do that effect. So it just looks softer and more blended. We talked about the nose slimming and how we can do that soft effect on the nose, but still doing that nose contour. how to choose shades that don't look washed out. Basically, you want to pair a very neutral eye with a pink lip or pink cheek or berry tones or something that offers a little bit of color so everything doesn't look ivory, because that could make the bride look totally washed out if everything is just black, white, and gray. Definitely want to stay away from an entirely monochromatic look like that. Custom cheek mixes and layering highlights. I showed you how I mixed the 2 highlights for the top of her cheekbone. I also showed you the mixture of blushes that I used, and I normally don't even use just one blush. I love mixing blushes, and I think that creates a very custom look on every skin tone, and I highly recommend that you match your cheeks to your lips a little bit. So it doesn't have to match exact, but if you're using a pinky tone on your cheeks, use a pinky tone on your lips, and it will look all cohesive and very, very nice. I showed you how to build the perfect ombre eyeshadow in certain steps. I showed you how to layer textures of the eyes, so using eyeshadow and then layering that wet thing over it and then layering eyeshadow over it to really sandwich it and look smooth again. It ended up looking amazing with that Lorac 3D Liquid Luster. We went over defining the brows, starting from the arch, finishing the tail, softening the beginnings to look more natural, and how to design lashes by curling the lashes and then matching center to center. And if you want to really make them spike out, you can add mascara to the false lashes to really make them even more dramatic if you wish. And then lastly, we talked about the custom long-lasting lip mixes. And all the products have been told to you guys, all the brushes. So the cool thing is all of our classes are recorded. You can watch this over and over and over again simply by replaying, rewinding, fast forwarding, whatever you want. So if it takes you a few times to get all the notes, feel free to watch it as many times as you need. You have like an entire month to watch this and to make sure that you're not missing out. So anytime that you're not sure when the videos expire, look on the homepage. It'll tell you when the videos expire so you know which ones to watch first. And now my lovely model, Sonia, is going to just kind of give you a little modeling tour. If you want to take pictures of her, feel free to screenshot. And if you do post anything on Instagram, feel free to hashtag DressYourFaceLive and tag us so we can see and we can like your posts and say thank you for watching, because this is so much fun, and I absolutely, oh, close your eyes. I just want to make sure that nothing is lifting here. Alrighty, go ahead and open. Ooh, gorgeous. So yeah, we want to make sure everything, you're happy with everything. If you guys have any suggestions on other classes that you want to take, please list them in the comments of my page, of my latest post, so we can add your requests to our class schedule. So now we're going to zoom out. And I'm going to take a seat and answer some of your last minute questions. I know I've answered most of them already during the class, which is the whole point of class and talking so much. But in case I missed any questions, I'm going to go through my latest post on Instagram so I can answer them for you. So Miss Sonia, you are now free to hang out for 10 minutes or go, whatever you want to do. I'm going to sit down and use the next 10 minutes to answer your questions. Alrighty. Ooh. Okay, so I'm going to refresh. All right, Nerd4L1L4 is asking from Malaysia, hi. What to avoid when applying liquid lipstick and how to make it last long and how to avoid stains on the teeth. So when you're applying liquid lipstick, some of the things to avoid is layering too much liquid lipstick over each other. You can layer gloss over a liquid lipstick, you can layer regular lipstick over a liquid lipstick, but when you're layering too many layers of liquid lipstick, they all dry together and it ends up feeling gummy, and it can like peel or it could kind of flake or crack, and it's not a good idea to layer too many layers of liquid lipstick. So if you're using a liquid lipstick, try to stick with just 1, maybe 2 layers if you're gonna do it, but make sure those layers are very thin and lightweight and feathery so that they're not gunky and creating a mess on your lips, because once they dry, it's gonna feel really weird and chalky and heavy. If you want to layer with something else like I did today on Sonia, I layered a thin layer of gloss over her liquid lipstick. That worked out pretty well. Once the liquid lipstick dried, I was able to put on a little bit of gloss, and it doesn't get chunky and it doesn't get all messed up. So that's fine, or using a regular lipstick over a liquid lipstick is fine too. And it's still long lasting, even though the gloss may not be long lasting, but because it's over a liquid lipstick, it's not gonna fade the way it would over a regular lipstick. And then how to avoid stains on the teeth. You wanna make sure to give your client, if there's stains on the teeth and you're seeing that, oh my gosh, no matter what I do, I keep cleaning the teeth and lipstick keeps getting on the teeth, you can use a Q-tip. I don't have one with me right now, but you can use a Q-tip or a lipstick applicator stick thing and literally wipe off this whole inner part and this whole inner part of her lips. Like just kind of give it a little wipe off so that there's no lipstick inside here, and that's what touches their teeth. So you want to make sure the lipstick is just on the outer part of their lip and not on the inner part. So to clean that inner part, you could either do this with your finger and wipe it off if you're doing it for yourself, or for a client, use a Q-tip or something and it'll wipe off. Or they can do the finger thing themselves and then just wipe it on a tissue. Okay. Pink Elixir is asking, what concealer is best to use for neatening lipstick? I always smudge it. I never get good coverage with the Pro Longwear concealer for that in particular. And also to tidy and sharpen the eyeliner, what concealer, and how can you stop it from smudging and being transparent? Thank you. I actually normally use the Pro Longwear concealer, whatever's left on my concealer brush, I'll just use that to clean up, or if there's any on my hand or on my palette, I can use that to clean up. But if you're not happy with that, try an actual, like, if you're looking for a fuller coverage, like thicker foundation, try stage makeup. So like Cinema Secrets, for example, has those foundation palettes which are super full coverage. They will even cover tattoos. So you can use that, but keep in mind it's very creamy. And so you have to set it with a little bit of powder so that it doesn't melt into whatever is going on. So whatever you're doing, go ahead and use a full coverage concealer that way with a very small brush. Don't use too much. Don't blend it too much, because when you're blending it, it'll turn transparent again. It's gonna be kind of no point. So don't overblend, and then set it with just a little bit of powder and be very neat and tidy and clean with that too. When you're setting with powder, also don't use a powder brush. Use a very small concealer brush when you're setting with the powder too, so it doesn't get on your lipstick or on your eyeliner. Marine18 is asking, why do you do highlighter before blush? Actually, it's your own preference. I've seen people do highlighter after blush so that it shows more. The reason why I like to do it before a blush is because I consider that a part of the base, and I consider blush more of a color step, and I like to do color after I do all the beige stuff. So with the highlight, another reason why I like to do it first is because I really want to blend it into the skin, into the foundation, so it looks more natural. And then when I put on the blush, it actually softens the highlight a little bit more, so again, it looks more natural. But for those of you who like a very strong highlight, in that case, after you put on some and then you put on your blush, you can add a final step of extra highlight to strobe the upper cheekbone or wherever you want to strobe it, just to give that stronger effect. But normally I don't go for a very strong effect. I just go for like that inner glow kind of a look. Let's see if there's any more questions. All right, last question, because all the other ones we answered in class. You guys are so amazing. Okay, so this is from Charlie is here tonight. I have thin and short hair. I was told before that it will just not be good enough for marriage, and your videos rarely showcase someone with short hair. Is it possible for you to do a video with a short and thin hair model? You know what, that's a really amazing idea, and I think I should definitely do a model search to find someone with thin and short hair, so I can show how to do. I'm assuming you're talking about having a wedding updo. You would just clip in really thick extensions, add like, you know, those stuffer buns, and use the extensions over it and use your own hair just for the height part. But I can definitely demonstrate that. I think that would be a really fun class, and I think that's a challenge for a lot of you out there, and I would love to show that. So thank you so much for your suggestion, and the answer is yes, I can definitely demonstrate that for you. I'll make sure to do it sometime this summer. So I already have the schedule up for July, but maybe August or September, I can add that class in and you guys can be well prepared for those type of situations. So on that note, it is time to say bye, and thank you guys for watching. And again, always check the home page to find out when videos are expiring, when's the upcoming next tutorial, and all that stuff, and to keep up for updates, because there are sometimes changes in the schedule due to real life stuff that's going on. So always check and make sure that everything's up to date, and you could be more active on DYFL by asking questions on all the Q&As. Even if you're not able to watch it live, I still answer all the questions. So if you do see a post on Instagram that says, okay, members, ask your Q&A questions here, go ahead and ask your questions, and then when the class is live, I'll be able to answer it. And then whenever you're able to watch the recording of the class, you'll hear your name and your question being answered. So thanks again, and I will see you next time for the next class, which is another one of your lovely requests. So check it out on the homepage, and I'll see you next week. Mwah.